the wild. About 5 years ago, I was out on the coast, up in an area around Night Inlet. I had a family. They were from Vancouver. He was a surgeon and his wife, their children, and their grandchildren. And we were up in the river estuary, and we were hoping to see bears. We have been walking bear trails. We've been exploring bear habitat, looking at the places where bears wallow, where they rub on trees. And we had an opportunity to come out of the bush and settle at the top of the tide line, and we're lucky enough to encounter a mother grizzly and her 2 young cubs as they came along the shore. They were busy doing what they were doing. We were downwind of them. They weren't really aware of us for a long time, and we were blessed with being able to watch them. They flipped over rocks. They were chewing on the barnacles, eating mussels, eating small fish. It was an incredible experience, and this happens often in our business. This is what we share with people. This is the world-class experience that we give them, much like taking them on an African safari or something of that nature. Profound experience. I looked down, and one of the kids was a little 5-year-old. She was in awe seeing these bears. And at one point the bears were within about 100 yards of us. We have some guidelines around how we interact with bears, and it's very respectful. And the mother became aware of our presence. She looked up. She seemed comfortable. She stayed there for some time, and then she slowly moved away. And often when those animals move away, if they spook, you're really displeased with the fact that you spook those animals. It's not part of your job. You don't want to interfere with what they're doing. But every once in a while that does happen, and especially if they're cubs. And sometimes I thank the mother for running away with her cubs, because I know that we're not all approaching those bears in the same way. We can be a danger to those bears. Later that day, we went back and we were having dinner on the boat, and the discussion of trophy hunting came up. And I had the BC hunting synopsis, and we looked up to see if the area that we were in is an area that's open to the hunt. And ironically, on one side of the stream is open to hunting, and on the other side is not. Bears don't know any difference. It was that day that I became so aware of the responsibility I have. Those bears develop a trust. They become accustomed to human presence. And if we're going to take people to watch them, we have an ethical responsibility to those animals. They're amazing creatures. They deserve respect. They're not monsters that we have made them out to be. And we have an ethical responsibility. If we're going to make money watching them, we have to protect them also.
Yeah.
Now, being as I'm speaking last, I'm probably covering some of what other people have mentioned, but bears in British Columbia make a lot more money for our economy through bear viewing. On any given day, at one of the viewing sites that we go to, if it's only a single bear that we see, that bear may produce $25,000 for the BC economy. If hunters go in and kill that bear, they may produce $10,000 and a dead bear. The bear that lives gets to produce that $25,000 every day that bear is available for us to see. Andrew mentioned the opportunities that wildlife tourism offers here. And if you look out in the harbor behind us here, you see all those boats that take people out to see orcas. 40 years ago, there was a plan in place to start culling orcas. They were going to mount 50 caliber guns in active pass. They thought they were eating all the fish. The bears are just like the orcas. This is a rapidly growing business and has huge potential for the economy of British Columbia. There are some arguments that are made often about this issue. One of them is about population numbers. Grizzlies are the slowest reproducing land mammals in North America. They've been extirpated from almost all of continental U.S. with the exception of a few small pockets. Grizzlies have also been hunted out or displaced through much of BC. Over the last 100 years, grizzlies have been eradicated from over 20 one, 75% of their historic range. Is this a healthy population trend? Are these animals being well managed?
No.
The government suggests that we can manage these animals. Their population estimates that support the trophy kill are based on what they call best available science. Without very large expenditure, these numbers are questionable at best. More recent published and peer-reviewed studies indicate that the government models are flawed. However, this government chooses to appease the trophy hunt lobby and ignore these studies, which is truly disgusting.
And not to mention the poachers who are sitting behind.
Kelsey's giving me the look. You need to hurry. Unfortunately, I have the nickname on board, Captain Longwind. Officials speak of this killing as wildlife management, and concepts such as harvestable surplus are used. First off, bears are not a crop like corn or farm trees. Predator population numbers are controlled naturally by available prey and food sources. If the prey numbers decline, so do the predator numbers. In addition, bears have a biological adaptation called delayed implantation. This mechanism delays the implantation of the fertilized embryos until late in the feeding season. The embryos don't implant if the females do not have sufficient fat reserves to support the cubs. Grizzlies do not need our help in controlling their population numbers. Mother Nature has taken care of that.
Yes.
The argument that government gives that we need to manage wildlife in places like the Great Bear Rainforest are completely false. Wolf culls, trophy hunting of bears, completely false.
Same.
Trophy killing is not a sport, it's perversion. It's a wasteful use of wildlife and senseless slaughter. Flying in a float plane, dressing up in camo like a kid playing G.I. Joe, then shooting an unsuspecting bear from a great distance is not sporting, nor brave and heroic. It's abhorrent and barbaric and cowardly. In addition, shooting bears at salmon streams in the fall and in river estuaries in the spring is no different than baiting these animals. There is no fair chase. They have to be there. They have no choice. In BC, on average, 350 bears are killed as trophies each year. That's about one every day. These bears, grizzlies, are not killed for food nor sustenance. They're killed for body parts as trophies. It's no different from killing rhinos for horns or sharks for fins. The BC hunting regulations even acknowledge this. They don't require the removal of the carcass as with other traditional hunts. I'm a hunter. I'm a fisherman. Every year, I fill my freezer with fish. I don't take issue with people gathering food for sustenance. I do take issue with people killing animals for their heads and their paws. Bears and nature are already burdened with habitat loss and industrial encroachment. They do not need the added pressure of being killed as decorations. Let's ask the BC government to acknowledge the will of 87% of British Columbians and stop this grizzly killing. We're facing the legislature. This is where it needs to happen. It's a simple process, and they could stop the trophy hunt in a matter of days. They just need to be inspired to do that. And the only way that that's going to happen is if people like us take action, and it's by doing what we're doing today. We have to take action. We have to find ways to take action. These things typically, well, I'm going to ask you a question. Who thinks the government is doing a good job of managing wildlife and the environment? I believe ecological issues should not be politically polarized. Everyone should care about the natural world we occupy and its nature and wildlife. I ask myself this question often: what can I do to make this change? The day I was telling you about 5 years ago when I was sitting in that estuary, I decided that I was going to start speaking out. I was going to make a change. terrified of public speaking, by the way, just so you know. That week I went home and I started thinking about what I could do. And I started a campaign online on Facebook. Hadn't been that involved with Facebook before. And I started something, it was going to be an educational tool. I expected I might have about 300 people participate. And one day somebody sent me a really horrific photo of a truck full of dead wolves, and I posted it. And it went viral. And hundreds of people started to join this page. Then I realized, oh, I have an obligation to this now. I'm going to follow this. I'm going to work at it. This is an example of what you might do. You don't have to start a Facebook page. You can pick up something where you might go out and just, take some action. I've gone out, I've spoken at schools, I've organized some small rallies. The vessels that we run, part of their process is educational. And we take out groups from outdoor recreation programs. One of the groups that I took out, I asked them what we could do. And they said, well, let's buy some stuff and make some shirts. This is one of the shirts that they made. There were 12 of them on board. With my crew, some of them standing out here, we all dressed up in these and took photos and we published them online. Those kids still wear them and they're involved in this process also. You can inspire youngsters. You can take action every day. I was lucky enough yesterday to be talking to Eric's wife, and she's an inspiration. She works on the trophy kill every single day, and she said to me, I write a letter once a week, and you imagine what would happen if everyone did that. The trophy hunt would be over. We are the majority. We need to take action. A lot of people don't know that this happens here. This needs to become part of public awareness. Like the dolphins that are killed in Taiji and shark finning, people need to know that we are killing grizzly bears for fun, heads, and paws in British Columbia, and it needs to stop. Before you leave today, you come up, there's an action sheet that suggests what more you can do. And we're also going to ask that you fill in the letters and make sure that your name is put behind this. Written letters hold a lot of pull in these types of campaigns, so please come up and participate more. And thank you so much for coming today.
What's the name of your